And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EU League. We are match 2 out of 5 today, and it's G2 Esports versus VIRTUS.PRO. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Mel Stamatic. With me are Jess and Fresh. Let's go first with our CIS team. It's VIRTUS.PRO, and I have a veritable CIS shill here on the desk. And Jess, let's chat about our Russian Bears.
Maybe I should stop shilling some of the CIS teams because I have like a coin flip. And when I say a coin flip, I've got Team Empire who do very well, and then I curse the other team. So it's either or. Either Team Empire does really bad and VP does pretty good, or it's the other way. And while when I talk about very bad, VP has no wins. They're at the bottom of the leaderboard currently. In fact, they have 1 point, which they got in overtime loss. The rest has been outright regulation losses. Things are not looking hot for VP. I am going to sort of at the end of this, after we talk about the other team, I'm going to give you a bit of indication where they sit in the overall standings for the year, because I think that's an important sort of talking point. Are they safe? Are they not? I know we've spoken about this as well, but I do want to give a better indication as to where VP is overall, or whether they're just going to stay stagnant in the middle, as we are used to them doing. Maybe sneak away into another major. They won't into this major, not with the way they're playing, but that's okay. They have next year.
All right. Fresh on the other side. Your former team, G2 Esports.
Yeah, my former team a long time ago. It's changed a lot since I left G2. They've had a super team, and I've called this the new G2 because they've got a brand new roster. And you talked about stagnating. I'd say that's the risk for G2. They're currently in this top 4 upper echelon, but they could stagnate and they could fall into the middle pack. But I will say they are a new team. They've got some exciting players, particularly Kayak. He's an exciting kind of young player, alongside one of the best players in this league and, dare I say, in the world, Citizen. And just specifically on this head-to-head, I've got a little stat that I want to throw out. The last 8 maps that G2 and VP have played, it has been a win for G2.
I am sure that graphic will,
come back,
keep going, but we will have our faces come back.
So, if I go through, last year, stage 1 and 2, G2 won. They played in the August major, G2 and VP. G2 won that 2-0.
Yes.
EU finals, G2 won that 2-0.
Okay.
2021, stage 1, G2 won that league fixture. And stage 2, G2 have won that. So VP have not beaten G2 in, what, over 2 years now?
In any of their formations.
Almost ever.
Like, I'm putting things like EU clash aside, and they wouldn't have played each other in anything else, but yeah, they've genuinely, not this iteration, not the super team, and not the iteration before that as well.
Sheesh.
It's
at that point, you have to
scary
ask.
statistic,
They played so many times, but what is it? The first time, because VP back in the Raleigh Major, we're talking 2-ish years ago, was not part of the Pro League in Europe.
No.
They were a Challenger League team, and they had to qualify through to make it there. So by the time they made it, they had still, over those 2 years, not beaten G2. That's insane.
And even in Raleigh, I think G2 won that.
They did, because they moved on to the grand final.
Yeah.
They played Empire in that grand final, where Empire was able to push them to the edge for the fight back after SI. What a year.
Well, just overall standings-wise, whilst we have the floor for it, G2 is currently top 3. From stage 1 to stage 3, how it currently exists, they are top 3. They have 39 points to their name. Do you want to know where VP currently sits? And mind you, this does get scary. It does get closer to relegations. Bottom 2... the bottom team gets auto-relegated, the second bottom team gets to fight. They're not necessarily there because they've got Heroic, Team Secret, Rogue, all middling at the bottom there. Rogue is behind them at 22 points and VP has 28. So realistically, VP could lose almost all the rest of their games and the other teams could have a couple of wins maybe here and there and they still would be okay relegation-wise.
I actually hypothesized this a couple of times last week in that it almost feels like Rogue of last year of 2020 where they went 0-9 but just about stayed up. They obviously did play the relegation game. VP have probably done just enough in stage 1 or 2.
They have.
But they're on a very, very big downward trend at the minute.
If they, in my mind, statistically or even just mathematically, if they get 1 or 2 more points, this is assuming that Rogue win like almost every single one of their matches, it would be almost impossible for the second lowest team, of which is not the auto relegation, but the fight relegation team of Team Secret, if we assume that they would be the one, they wouldn't be able to overtake VP. So all VP needs to do with their remaining games is scrounge together a point or 2, and they could just feasibly lose the rest and still be in there. So they've done enough for the year, but that is not a story you want to be telling.
No,
So,
this is a roster that you was thinking, we started on Playday 1. Is this a roster that is going to make that push up to majors? Because they've been just around that 4th, 5th spot. Are they going to make that push up? 3 or 4 Playdays down the line, and we're like, this is a roster that, if it went really badly, could be relegated.
Yeah.
It's a very worrying trend for VP.
Yeah, it is.
And hopefully, if they don't get relegated, they use that time to kind of consolidate into going into Stage 1 next year.
Absolutely.
VP had the shot to go to SI. Unfortunately, they couldn't last year, which was obviously devastating for the team, but they actually recovered from the whole situation. They got better in Stage 2, but now it's the same style of kickoff. What can they do? Because it seems like, and again, I don't know anything about Rainbow Six, but it seems like G2 definitely has an advantage in this from what I'm hearing from you. So let's see which map we're going to be playing on in this series. Again, 7-map pool, 6 are down, 1 is left. We're going to go to Cafe Dostoyevsky, and VP are starting off on the attack with G2 defense. Back in the day, VP were very comfy on Cafe after its rework. So
the last 2 times in all of the history between G2 and VP that they went head-to-head on Cafe, regardless of its iteration, G2 have won both of them. Both of those maps. And even just in similar round count, I mean, they've almost doubled the amount of rounds they've won against VP than VP's ever been able to put up against them. And this is going all the way back to like Stage 1 of last year, etc. So it's encapsulated quite a lot of their matches and rounds. And VP, I mean, not looking hot for them unless they can pull something out of the bag here.
The one thing I will say about this map in particular is that on the kind of statistics of the past couple of stages, it's a low preference map for G2.
Correct.
It's a high preference map for VP. So if VP have anything going for them, it's that they've got a good map to go on, even if they don't have a good history.
They beat the world champions on it. This is G2 against NIP at the major.
Yep, they did.
They went on Cafe. Okay, NIP had an awful, Mexican major. So how much do we really, put a lot of our stocks in that? But what I will say, if you can beat the world champions, probably beat anyone.
curious to see how this one goes. Again, like you guys are saying, VP has a very high hill to climb. We'll see if they can get over it to defeat G2, finally grab some extra points that they sorely and desperately need on that board. They'd be gatekeeping G2 away from the major if they keep it going with how things are with G2.
They would force certain relegations on certain teams. So I'm just saying this game might not feel like a lot, but there's a lot more going on in the shadows for this.
So, Fresh Jess, thank you very much. Let's go then to our casters. It's Snowy Moscow, it's Cafe Dostoyevsky. We've got Ace and Des. Take us through it.
I'm not going to say the line, because everyone else has started saying it around the studio now as well. Thank you very much, Milos. We'll go with it for that one. Cafe. This is like the whole Bart thing where it's just like, okay, I'll say the line. The line gets said, the game has got to start either way. G2 versus VP, a team, as we discussed on the desk there, a little bit down on their luck. Hasn't been so good for them so far. G2, a team that's kind of middling through it feels at the minute, also quite haven't got it fully figured out, but definitely looking stronger than the Russian side.
They are looking stronger than the Russian side, but we know that there is a lot of work for G2 to do. Yeah, they've got themselves a couple of wins. They've had some good performances, but not as good as we know they are capable of. That's the point now for G2. They really need to start come out and having more convincing wins. That was a word that I used last time out on the Playday on Monday, was that they just don't feel convincing at the minute. And that's what I want to see. I want to see G2 come out and not just have Citizen put nearly 20 kills in. I want to see everybody else stepping up. I want to see other numbers going in. I want Citizen having to fight for kills and to see that G2 back.
Having to battle for it. It was often a comparison point that we spoke about between players like Shaiko and Citizen. Is Shaiko's got a wonderful team around him who on the right day can also frag out and deny a lot of kills away for him, or from him, sorry, but on the other side for Citizen, like you say, is that support necessarily there? At the minute, it feels like no. We've seen Kayak have a few good games, but we know as the IGL and more supportive player on the team, that's not really his role.
No, and I mean, interestingly, you could probably say very similar for VIRTUS.PRO, to be fair. Milon needs backing up. You know, Milon comes out and has those big moments. There are other players who have contributed, but what I'm talking about is consistency. That's what I'm talking about, is coming out and doing it, not just Playday after Playday, but round after round as well.
No, I completely agree. Rask is a player that reminds me, dare I say, a lot of Durza coming out for the side of Heroic. A player that you'll find every now and then has a good game, a few good rounds in there, will pick up a 2K or a 3K and just run away with the round and you can do nothing about it. But the consistency across rounds is where they struggle a little bit. And equally, Milon very rarely is the big flashy entry player for the team. He's the kind of guy who, on the Zofia more often than not, maybe less so in this meta, would find himself with 2 or 3 kills in the mid-round quite consistently. He needs someone on the entry, he needs someone at the back end of the round to really make sure it gets over the finish line, and that has been lacking for VP a little bit lately.
It has. We've just got a slight technical delay. Don't worry, it's not just me and Des talking about G2
it's another
versus
podcast.
Pro.
Let's go.
It's podcast time. We're not just talking about it for the fun of it. As soon as we get that ironed out, we will get you into the game. Don't worry. I don't want to see the chat full of caster start game.
We do have the button. We always speak about the button.
Well, we'll press it when we're ready, Des. That's when we'll press
You'll
it.
wait. Did your parents ever teach you patience when you were young? It's one of those. You just have to wait a few minutes. We will be there, though, in a minute. Just as spared a couple of TeamSpeak issues in the backside. Once that's sorted, we will crack on with the game. But seeing after how that first game went, I'm excited and fingers crossed the rest of this Playday continues to deliver, because that first game between Kavana and Secret, although it felt a bit one-sided, was really enjoyable to watch.
Oh, it was a fun game, absolutely no way. I mean, there was obviously, I always like them where you've got those other issues that are to be settled. You've got Kendra up against his ult. I always like those other storylines in the background.
Did you see his
not just about the siege in the
Did you see his
server.
tweet? Did you see his tweet?
See his tweet.
If you haven't seen Kendra's tweet, get on the timeline now and go and take a look. It was spicy, is all I'm going to say about that one. We'll hope, when it comes around to them seeing in future how that relegation battle goes, because for Secret, they are very much in the thick of it after that loss as well. There's lots to be excited for. And we were talking about this last week. It's highly unlikely, but if VIRTUS.PRO completely tank this stage, they've only got 1 point so far, and assuming Rogue, Secret, Heroic, one of them have a real good flurry, you might find that VIRTUS.PRO gets sucked into this battle come the end of Playday 9, and that would be crazy. I'm pretty sure as well they've got one of those bottom 3 teams on the final day of the season, just to make the storyline that little bit spicy.
I tell you what, it's practically already written in the stars for me. As soon as you say to me, VIRTUS.PRO are facing off against one of those relegation rivals on the final Playday, it's practically already a dead cert that VIRTUS.PRO just tank the season. One of those teams comes in, gets a couple of wins, probably in the mid to late stage, just in time, and then it comes down to that final day.
You know how the tides are really changing? I think you already saw it in the pre-show. If not, then crap. I'm going to spoil it for you. When we looked at the predictions for talent earlier on, 3 of us went for Heroic to beat Team Vitality.
Yeah.
That is a sign of just what's going on at the bottom of the table, because despite Heroic's poor fortunes, they are looking a lot better, I think it's fair to say.
They are. They definitely are. They really nearly did it. They had a few of us panicking on Monday when you talk about predictions. Obviously,
I predicted it. I think I was the only one. I
BDS
was like,
Heroic, and it went all the way to 15 rounds. It was, it was so close. They really did take it down to the wire, but just unable to get it over the line. But you just know that it's a team that have potentially got wins in them. That's what we're seeing now. They've had the couple of roster shuffles, and I honestly think if they stick with the lineup as it is, with Shukri and with Thunder in there, there's wins in that team when they're not playing against BDS.
The thing is, it's Durza on the bench as well. He's had some good games himself over the last couple of stages.
There. It was just what we saw. That the chemistry just sort of seemed to click. And I think there could be trouble.
After day 1, Thunder was like, 1-10 or something, and then comes out in the last Playday and drops a 4K in 1 round, walks away with double-digit kills, and it was like, oh, fantastic.
It's what he needed as well.
Yeah, and Chucky was a bit quieter, but equally he had a fantastic first day. The main thing I don't want to get excited about too much with them is, it's very easy to look at one performance and go, oh, they're back, they're fighting, they're competitive. Yeah. No, consistency is that magic word that we mentioned about every single team all the time. You could almost say we're consistent about consistency. That's got to be able to be replicable now across different play days. So not just last week, not just 1 game out of 9. It's got to be multiple, if not more than half, in a go-to stage.
I think the broader issue there as well, and you may, wonder how we've got onto Heroic, it's because we're looking at that potential final matchup. And when Heroic come to play teams like VIRTUS.PRO, they are looking like a side now that could get those wins there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how VIRTUS.PRO are going to find themselves getting sucked into that relegation battle that they want to avoid. But forget all that. We are heading into Cafe. This one is going to be G2 versus VIRTUS.PRO. Jess said that there is plenty going on in the shadows for this one. There's going to be plenty going on in the server right now as well, as we are screaming towards round number 1, and I think we could be in for a banger, Des.
You'd hope so. It's one of those that you look at and just think, this day surely isn't that clear-cut, right? It's not going to be a Kavana win. It's not going to be a straight G2 win. But you look at the records in the top left corner of your screen. 3 of 5 wins for G2. Only 1 of 5 for VIRTUS.PRO. It has been a war for them so far to find anything. They've got 1 point in the stage. Hopefully there is plenty more to come. First 2 bans coming away is going to be the Thatcher and the Nomad.
reasonable. We may see Valkyrie ban coming in as well. I would expect it alongside that Nomad
Flip a
ban
coin.
because you're just asking for trouble if not.
50-50 on the Valkyrie
There
ban,
you
mate.
go. In
Always.
comes the Valkyrie ban. Like I say, especially alongside the Nomad because you've just got very little option then to stop any potential run-outs. So that is going to come in. And then the final ban defensively will be the Mirror. No major surprises there. Today all pretty stock standard. But for me, Des, this is the opportunity. We've spoken about G2 coming into it and I said I need to see consistency. We need to see better performances in terms of frags, particularly alongside those 4 players. You know, Citizen's going to go in and get your kills, but make him fight for them amongst the team. Don't, you know, just feed them all into him. That's what I want to see. This is their opportunity today. They've got a VIRTUS.PRO who are struggling. It's a team that G2, as Fresh said, have consistently beaten. And so this now for me is their opportunity. This is the confidence builder. Come in here, really knock VP around a little bit, come away with a 7-2, 7-3, and it gives you that foundation to really move forward. It could be the spark that they need to start a fireworks display for the back end of Stage 3.
Looking at the picks in the first round straight away, my eyes are going towards that Twitch. Self-professed Twitch main, not an amazing one at the best of times, but loving the small bus that she's had introduced, of course. Drones can now jump. It's a laser, not a piddly bit of string that you fire through the air. You have the normal drone in the drone phase, you have your 2 in the actual action phase, so quite a few changes coming in. You might see a rising into popularity more and more as time goes by. Yes.
The question is, will the wildcard skin be on the F2, Des?
I don't know how much longer I should stay excited for. It is... I've already said it. It's my favourite skin out of all the new drops, and I'm sure Kavana hear that and hate me for it because I'm from your region, you're still shilling their skin. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
To be fair, I'm shilling all the skins.
They are all beautiful.
They're absolutely fantastic. The latest, if you haven't looked through the latest release of Share Scheme skins yet, where have you been for starters?
I advise you lock your wallet in a time safe and don't let it out for the next few hours.
I mean, that's the exact opposite of what I did. I just went in and went mad because there's some absolute beauties in there, and we'll see. That did look like the right colours, Des. I believe we've got the wildcard skin.
Yes, look at it. Look at it.
Rask even hitting the reload for us at the right time to have a nice little look at it there.
My little teenage emo heart seeing red and black everywhere just makes me so happy.
It's a beautiful skin. Milon getting up onto the rooftop as the sledge. He's going to start us off here, getting those hatches opened. VP in a heavy droning phase at the minute, just trying to find out exactly where G2 are holding. G2 are defending down in kitchen, so this is going to be a top floor down clearance from VIRTUS.PRO. To give everybody at home an idea, Des, you and I often use the metric of 1 minute 30 for them to be in training, in mining, opening up the floor with the sledge. They're not going to be heading for that in 30 seconds if they don't stop Citizen, who gets the opener onto Pasha.
A little bit too comfortably as well. This reminds me so much of what happened between Na'Vi and G2 when they played this map last year. It sticks in my mind so much. It was a 6-6 outcome, and it was this style of vibe the whole time. Na'Vi wasted a lot of time of G2's on their attack by defending downstairs and roaming up on the top floor, and it happened back and forth. It was a real shield war on the white corridor between Kendra, I believe it was, on the Monty, and someone on the other side playing on the Clash. A lot of kind of space and time being wasted between the two, but here, as you say, 130 is that metric. They're still trying to figure out exactly where this Vigil is lurking around because it's Virtue looking to cause a bit of trouble.
This is it. They just don't really have
He's not even
control.
upstairs.
Yeah, he's downstairs, and this is the power of Vigil, of course. That cloak, that cloaking ability, it just creates a big sphere, Des. It's a big radius there that is just going to feed out, and any drones caught in it, vertically, horizontal, they will display that he's in that area, and that's why Vigil is so good at wasting time, because you've got to go in and face check and make sure that he is not there. Now then, in goes the Rotero drone. It's just going to be looking to help clear out of VIP for the time being, but the Kaid is going to be able to stay in there. Jonker just dips himself out of the way, and he's just going to continue to lock that angle down to prevent the push into Freezer coming from VIRTUS.PRO.
I love the many paths you see these drones take as well. The Roteros, like the 2 or 3 drone holes to navigate through. In that case, it was up from the second floor all the way down rather than a more conventional / predictable push in from the white door. But of course, unpredictability makes your life a bit easier. Full flash onto the Kai, but WTG not aware. It's Rask who steps in and finds Kayak to bring us up into a 4 versus 4. WTG with not exactly the most glamorous self-flash. Now goes in again, gets swung on by Yonka. After 3 flashes, he had enough and stepped out. There's one more pushing in towards Restaurant, but Rask wins that one out. It's the power of the wild card skin, Ace. A double kill coming in for Rask.
Citizen just looking to make the challenge down the long red corridor there. In comes the flash, nothing he can do, but it is going to wear off and allow him to challenge. In comes a nade as well, moves his feet, but time ticks down. Hungry manages to hold things down as he manages to get one kill and just prevent that push into sight. That's going to be G2 taking the round, and it all comes down to time, Des. VIRTUS.PRO there just a little bit slow. That first kill from Citizen, and then the Vigil just really preventing them pushing in and getting those vertical angles as quickly as they needed. And also, I just want to give a mention to Jonker there. I feel like maybe there was a second fight to be won for him onto Rask. It's one of those. He's maybe lost that gunfight, but he had just managed to get a great kill at the bottom of White Stairs. After that second flash came in, he knew that he was going to be pushed from it, and he took the initiative and burst straight out of VIP into the corridor and got the kill in White. So that is fantastic play from Jonker. G2 securing the round, 1-0.
Now we head ourselves up to the top floor. Castle was swapped away, and I thought for a second that would stay, and you'd see a big commit coming in inside a cigar shop. On APAC yesterday, we spoke about this a fair bit, how so many APAC teams really struggle to break open what would be the cigar and a Rooney holdout towards cigar shop. You normally have a smoke playing in there, you'll have a shield set up, you'll have ADSs scattered around in piano, someone actually playing in piano. I'm not sure this is quite going to be the same full style of setup, but they are at least committing out quite a bit towards the west side here on the entry into the map. 2 of those laser gates, 1 on the hatch, 1 on the red door. And given there are some of these walls being opened up here from storage, you can see that the defenders do want to challenge inside a piano, because as you saw in the last round, VIRTUS.PRO, they struggle with the clock. The more G2 can throw them down, the more challenges and puzzles they can put in front of them, the more chance there is that VIRTUS.PRO will run out of time once again.
G2 just trying to defend the wall at the top of Red Stairs, as is pretty usual. They've got a couple of mute jammers there, one inside of Cigar and one just tight up against the wall near the little whiskey bar, just to try and keep things held down for as long as possible. But I would still expect VIRTUS.PRO to be able to clear that enough to get that wall breached and get some access into Piano. Jonker is going to play in Cigar for the time being, but I don't think he'll stay here for too long, to be honest with you, Des, because he doesn't have a lot of the utility that's going to be needed to keep him in position. Now Pasha taking an awful lot of damage on the windows there, going to have to dip away. WTG just using some ex-Kairos pellets to open up the path from the roof down into Red Stairs at least. But for the time being, VIRTUS.PRO not doing too badly. Kill onto Hungry from Kajeka, and that is the start that they needed here in round 2.
Yeah, it's not bad to be fair. They've had some good pressure coming inside a piano already, playing off these windows really, really well, forcing Hungry to drop away, forcing everyone else to basically back off and give them control of it. Their next point of concern, though, is going to be stock. The fact, oh, sorry, Freezer. The fact that someone can sit inside here and challenge freely if they want to. There isn't a shield with which to do so, but there is someone being ready to step out and go for the challenge if they need to, not just from bathroom, but also inside of storage itself. We'll just give VIRTUS.PRO another thing to think about, because Ace, we're 90 seconds in, and they haven't yet got themselves control of piano. They're pushing up red, they're looking to get control of it, but as mentioned earlier on, it's about the clock, and if they keep on finding themselves running it down, trying to find out where these players are and what they can do, it's going to come back to bite them.
It certainly will. It was something that we saw last time around. Pasha's actually going to be down. He was on very low health anyway.
The breach brought him down.
I think something, has chipped away at him there, able to be brought back up. I think he's actually finding himself now on more hit points than he was before he went down, to be honest. The Rotero drone going in there, going to clear out the bulletproof camera, but with 56 seconds left to go, VIRTUS.PRO need to get moving. It is something that we saw them struggle with in round 1. We don't want it to be the case again here in round 2. Now, another Rotero drone going in and just trying to bully the player in Freezer and get him moving, and it does get him moving, but with no real effect. Virtue able to find Pasha, but traded out by WTG immediately. 38 seconds left to go, and VIRTUS.PRO have got themselves established inside of the bathroom, inside of Piano, and White Corridor is in their control as well.
I feel like that was the first proactive play they've made all round with WTG making it happen. Ras goes in. What a shot from Kajeka coming out of Cigar Shop to put it all down to Citizen, who's been skulking down on the second floor, but knows there's one man waiting to challenge him here on White. Out comes to step through. Citizen missing the shots, and WTG wins those. A big round coming out of the support player. The initial charge into bathroom. The next one coming up onto the White Stairs at the end of the round. A good round, especially for WTG.
Indeed, VIRTUS.PRO, they seem to have sort of stalled out at about the 2-minute mark, but then all of a sudden there was just a spark that came forward. Then the movement, I think, particularly into piano was the confidence that they needed. Once they knew they had that area locked down, they moved in aggressively, got the challenge onto bathroom, cleared it out, and from there, the rest of G2 just fell like a house of cards, one after another. So round number 3, we're going to be heading down to a reading room and fireplace. So one level down from the previous site. We're going to take the mid-floor site this time. G2 deciding not to rush back to bar. It's a site that I've spoken about continuously, Des. You know what I'm going to say. Bar generally in EU has a low percentage win rate for the defenders. It is much less usually than kitchen and of reading as well. So teams don't tend to force the issue too much, and we are seeing it fall away a little bit. The fact that G2 have brought it as a secondary site shows us that. Heading straight down to kitchen to begin with and deciding not to go for the second attempt. Straight into reading this time, and pretty much a standard setup so far.
Yeah, one more C4 added into the lineup as well with Kayak on the Mozzie. In the previous round, it was just the two. Citizen in both rounds running around with those impacts for different reasons, I'm sure. Maybe looking to deny away some of the ex-Kairos. Also, of course, for the rotates if required. But you do then also have the Mute and the Aruni to help you with that purpose as well. Either way, it is going to be this top floor focus. You can see the Mute Jammers going down inside a cigar shop, 2 of them to be precise. And imagine that's where you're going to find the point of entry coming in for VIRTUS.PRO. They have already shown in both of the rounds to start this map off that they want to attack from the top side of the map and work their way down. So to me, at least, good acknowledgement from G2 in saying, right, let's pile the pressure on. How can we waste even more time around red? Because like in round 2, 45 seconds, they barely got control of piano itself. And it really did take quite a daring play coming out of WTG to make any kind of inroads towards the site.
Well, this is it in terms of time. The problem this time is you don't just have to take top floor. You've got then additional steps of moving down to the mid floor, getting the diffuser down. It's not quite as straightforward as the top floor takes. So VP need to be aware of that and make sure that they are on top of things and getting things moving, keeping themselves on their toes. Now, we've got Citizens moved underneath, but there are still a number of members of G2. G2 are going to try and hold on to the top floor for as long as possible. We've got one inside a cigar, one inside a piano, one just on Pixel spot there. So that's 3 men on the top floor. Citizens lurking around in train and mining, just trying to have the opportunity to potentially get a vertical kill with the Nitro as well that he will have in hand. Great challenge from Kayak there, but he's going to take a bit of damage coming out of that nade. Drops himself away to safety whilst Hungry manages to get that opener onto Pasha, and it's been a tough day for Pasha so far.
0-3, yeah, not quite the Pasha that we all, I think, feared. Was it back at the November Major last year? Absolute terror, dragged his team through several maps and got them in towards the semis from what I remember, but didn't quite manage to get all the way there, and he has been pretty quiet since that date, nearly a year ago now. We'll see, of course, if the November Major could probably be a turning point for him.
That was easy.
Rask, that was a very easy one, yeah. Nice and easy from the window, swing round, find Hungry, bring it back down into a 4 versus 4. But do want to touch on the thing we've mentioned all the time, Ace, timing once again. You've got about 65 seconds to play with here, and they're still yet to find the control they need.
This is it, VIRTUS.PRO not in control of the top floor. As you can see, Kayak's rotated himself back upstairs, showing just how important this top floor is to this defence. He's also got Jonka with him, still in the bar back storage. WTG taking a hefty amount of damage there, and that is not going to help as the Hibana really going to be in a tough spot now. Citizen knows there's a man on the upside down rappel of white window, just looking to make the challenge, but thinks better of it. Doesn't want to be losing his life at this stage. Jonka takes a ton of damage as well, but he's going to stay in position for the time being as Kayak manages to kill Rask on the cover and gets G2 now to 4 versus 2. Citizen finishing off WTG, who was low health, but here comes Milon as he manages to get 2 on the top floor. He's going to need 2 more, Des.
Well, it's Milon, right? We spoke about his mid-round and what he can achieve, but here he is a man with a mission, a 1 versus 2 mission to complete, and it would complete the 4K in the round for him. Not so sure he's got the time to make this one happen here. We're down to the final 10 seconds. 1 to his left, 1 to his right. Which way does he go first? Left is the answer. Finds one. Can he clutch it out now with the triple kill on side? But doesn't know where the last man is. Needs to get himself inside the side. Doesn't know it's behind the fallen bookcase. This will be all too easy, and Virtue steps up. Can't quite find his man, but still wins the round thanks to the time.
Virtue does exactly what is needed of him there. It's not always flashy winning a round, but it's essential. Gets himself out of the way, behind the bookcase, keeps it quiet, and gets the job done.
I just wrote in my notes, Milosh 3K, not Milon 3K.
I mean, I'm sure that Milosh has got plenty of 3Ks in him, but
it's just it
wasn't that one. It wasn't that one.
He hasn't actually yet joined. What's the word that Jack's had for it? It's called it the Plat something stack. The Plat paradox stack, he calls it.
There you go.
We haven't yet had Milos sign up. I think he's been biding his time. He's going to come out one map and just drop like 20
When we
kills.
really need him. He's going to
When
come
we
out
need
on
him
that
most.
diamond game.
That'll be the diamond game, yeah. To get you into diamond, that'll be the play. That's when you summon Milos.
Exactly that. Coming into round number 4 then, VIRTUS.PRO. They're going to need to summon something here, Des, because they've got themselves one round, but they didn't look particularly convincing in round 3 for my money. They struggled to get control of the top floor. Jonker and Kayak were up there with 30 seconds left to go. It was, you know, really only that late flurry, that hero play from Milon that made them look competitive.
I mean, even round 2 to me, although you look at the numbers, right, they won the round, they had 3 left alive, it was convincing for VIRTUS.PRO. It came off the back of WTG being aggressive. And I throw back in my mind to G2's game against Na'Vi on Bank at the start of the stage. G2 didn't look confident at all, whereas Na'Vi, they were full of beans. They knew what play they wanted to make. They were willing to commit to gunfights. They were willing to make things happen. And I feel that for VIRTUS.PRO, as we saw in round 2, if you're prepared to take that risk and make things happen and it can pay off for you, you can shut G2 down very comfortably. But by being passive as they have been so far, it hasn't worked out so well. And I'm hoping this Finka change pickup coming in for Pasha is going to be the magic sauce they need. Heaven knows he needs a change, because so far he has been 0-3 playing on that Zofia.
That's it, they just need that little bit of dynamite, that little spark just to put a bit of urgency into this lineup. I want to see them getting aggressive, going in and taking those gunfights and not playing too much behind things like the Rotero drones. You know, how many Rotero drones did we see pushing in, not in the last round, but the one before? I know they took that round, but it was just one after another going into bar back storage and trying to move Jonker around, and it was moving him around, but there was nobody there to challenge him, and that's what I want to see is VIRTUS.PRO getting in there aggressively behind those drones, finding those fights, taking them and winning them. Now, there's one man playing on Lumber by the looks of things, and there's another inside of Cocktail, so there's 2 on this top floor to be cleared out. One of them is Virtu, and with those gunshots, they should have a good idea of the presence of the Vigil, if not his exact location. So VIRTUS.PRO, let's get moving, get in there and take that gunfight confidently.
G2 are just so happy to be out in the mat right now and say, look, we're going to roam 3rd floor, we'll roam 2nd floor. We'll waste your time because we know you haven't got the balls to go for a big play and swing on us and go absolutely nuclear on us. It's not happening. They're being very passive. Even here, Crouch walking through bar, like, okay, where are they? Can I find someone? And it always makes me nervous because it's thinkers that often do this. They're the entries. They're the ones with the team-wide stim with 2 frags in the back pocket. And I'm thinking, are they the ones you really want to be your roam clearer in this situation? Not so sure.
Looks like VIRTUS.PRO have forced G2 away, if nothing else, but with 1 minute 10 left to go, that's not bad, Des. They've wasted more than nearly 2/3 of the round, the roamers here, and they've got themselves back to site with their lives intact. So with only 1 minute left to go, VIRTUS.PRO have still got a full assault to make onto Kitchen.
I think back to teams that have always been this slow again. We talk about that 130 metric for swinging the hammer for the first time. Norarengo, before they exited, were the slowest team at doing this. It was about the 1 minute mark consistently where they would start getting this floor opened up. And VIRTUS.PRO have had stiff competition in G2 meeting them on the 3rd and 2nd floor that it is forcing them to run out of time a bit here. But they've got 35 seconds. Milan's still got 2 nades in back pocket. They've still got things to do. And here are hoping to find a cheeky kill on the backside. They may well just do that. And no, they don't. It only gets rid of the shield, falls ever so slightly short. If that had come off for them, it would have been great because the flashbang would have burnt through any ADSs in the area and got them a kill. But it's that man again, WTG, the support player, stepping up and making the big plays, Ace.
Drops the freezer hatch and manages to get an opener, exactly what they needed. But here comes the G2 collapse, Des, and this is the problem. You leave it late in the round, you leave men alive, and they are there to kill you. Kayak getting a big double. Citizen finishing things off. Kayak really going big inside of the site there when G2 needed him to, and for me that was a solid defense of Kitchen. VIRTUS.PRO, although they got into sight, you could look at it and say, well, they started putting the diffuser down at a point. I don't think they were ever realistically too close to taking that round. G2 had that in full control.
Yeah, just another one of those that you look at, and I hate simplifying Siege down to this level, but it is genuinely just the clock. And the thing is, we are also putting a lot of pressure on VIRTUS.PRO here and saying, they're the ones that are slow, they're the ones that aren't moving fast. We need to give credit to G2 as we started to do in the last round. They're the ones getting out in the map and wasting time. They're the ones constantly sitting on 3rd floor. They know that VIRTUS.PRO want to have a full map clear because why wouldn't you? It's Cafe. And still they're in a spot where G2 are just making them lose a minute here, lose a minute there. And before you know it, in these rounds, they're having to panic. And that's why you see players like WTG having to be the ones making the big plays. And again, I'll also give him some credit. He has been the one dropping hatches. He's been the one charging through piano into bathroom and picking up kills. He's doing the right stuff. But it's like, cool, we got the kill. Now what? There's no follow-on plan beyond that.
You know, you're absolutely right there as well, Des. You know, naturally speaking, and all teams play to a different pace, but naturally speaking, you know, these teams won't be slow through choice. You know, if you leave a floor open, they'll go in and take it. Within 10-15 seconds, they'll recognise that, they'll go in and take it. So, absolutely right. Props needs to be given to G2. If VIRTUS.PRO are playing slowly, it's because G2 are slowing them down. And that's the thing. They're giving them plenty to think about. They're making it very difficult. And like I say, VIRTUS.PRO just needing to find the confidence a little bit and get in there for those gunfights.
So look at the changes in this round compared to what we saw back in the second round. Remember when they left like half a storage open, half a bathroom was soft, for example, so they could challenge in there? Not this time. They've electrified up basically the entire storage, the entire bathroom, and just given VIRTUS.PRO a massive electric wall ready and waiting.
Just in Citizen.
Rashid, no, that is the easiest kill you're ever going to see. That was almost as dirty as the one that Fresh set me up with in Oregon yesterday.
Not quite, Des. No, nobody's reporting Rask on that one. But that was unfortunate for Citizen. What we saw there was a great view of exactly how that happened. Obviously, he doesn't have the pleasure of silhouettes like we do, and that drone was just in his ADS. Obviously, these players spend a lot of time aiming down sights because they want to be ready for that gunfight, because a fraction of a second in Siege can be all it takes. And in that case, it just prevented him seeing that drone and knowing he'd been spotted out. The yellow ping was perfect, and it was a beautiful opener from Rask. But Virtue, he's managed to level things up, finding one onto Pasha again, 0-5. He's having a torrid time. Nearly halfway through the round, VIRTUS.PRO starting to drop red hatch. They're not doing too badly this time in terms of time, but there's still work to be done. They need to clear out all this utility.
You know what that was? That was impatience from Pasha as well. There's no other way of putting it. The shield was still up, the Kaid was safe, yet he chose to peek on a window when they had Flores clearing out shields. I don't know, that's the first one I've seen Pasha. I've seen him die a lot, obviously, but I haven't seen him be that impatient to just go for a swing like that. I don't know if he was trying to nade it off or what, but obviously lost his life in the process.
The thing is, I can't criticise it too much because we've picked up on VIRTUS.PRO and said you've been a bit slow, you've been leaving things too late, so if you want to get things going, it takes somebody to do it, but...
Yeah, but not peaking. You know what I mean?
It can be a difficult thing. Sometimes you've got to take that risk, try and get that opener, try and get a bit of fire, try and get things to 5 versus 3 and give your team that opportunity. It's not worked out, and it just feels like, honestly, that's a bit of a long-standing issue for VIRTUS.PRO. No matter what they try to do that, it just doesn't seem to work out.
And here they're in a spot with 45 seconds to... Oh, that's a freebie and a half as well. WTG realising he couldn't march his way through, got smoked off and had to back away. Milan finds one in response, mind you. We're down to that 35-second mark with 3 still alive on either side. And this is where we've got to see something happen. They've got these holes opened up, but there's no white control. I believe it's Citizen still lurking around towards the bottom side. In fact, no, sorry, not Citizen. He died early on. But there's a man on white. There's 2 holding back inside a cocktail. More than enough to refute this attack coming out of VIRTUS.PRO. They have to go now, Ace.
This is it, 15 seconds left to go. Virtue holding an angle through barback storage. Kayak's low health, in comes the smoke grenade, and that is going to provide the cover needed. He's just unfortunate there not to find himself a kill, but here comes Virtue pushing forward, gets himself one, levels things up, the diffuser stops going down, 1v2. They have to stick this, it's up to Virtue, he makes his shots, he gets the first,
the
second,
ace!
It's an ace from Virtue to close out the round, and what a 1v2 finish that is. Look at him, finds the kill on the Twitch, steps in, stops the plant. Beautiful from Virtue. I've been waiting for it, Des, and I've picked up a couple of times that we needed more from Virtue, so it's only fair for me to say just how good that was.
Oh, absolutely. A player that, you know, we've lauded since the start of the year. He was massive as Citizens duo back in Stage 1.
We know that's what he's capable of.
This is the thing, right? I think of them running around on constant together and dropping 30 kills between them. They were a terrifying duo, and I believe we even said once, you know, this is the duo that you want on your team. They are terrifying. And then Virtue, he fell off. We haven't seen him for a long time, and he said a couple of months ago on an interview, I believe, at the back end of Stage 2, you know, I've had a lot of things I've been sorting out in my own life right now. Mentally, I wasn't quite there. Now I'm ready to come back, and we've just seen it in that round. Great opening kill as well, and think about it. Citizen being removed, in 90% of situations, you'd look at that and say, G2 are done. They can't win the round because their star player's off the board, but for Virtue to step up and do that, magical.
was just such a great, I mean, you know, there's a little bit of luck feeds into it. He manages to see the legs outside of the smoke cloud, but you need that sometimes. But that kill on the Twitch for me was just absolutely wonderful. He challenges such a tight angle on the door frame, but then manages to go through and win the head-to-head fight as well. Great play from Virtue. More of that, please. That's what we want to see out of him, and that could be the driving force alongside Citizen to really propel this G2 side to greatness.
I've got to say, there's something that popped up in my mind as that Ace. Well, it was not afterwards when I looked at you and you were screaming at me, and we were both like, no way, he's done it. I was like, how is Ace suddenly taller? And I realised you're standing on the cable protector on the floor.
I am. I do. Not for that reason. It's just as I've sort of paced back and forth. I'm very, as a few people have commented, there's been videos put out occasionally. I'm very mobile when I'm casting. I tend to be back and forward. It goes in line with the fact that I'm so excited I can't stand still. And yeah, sometimes I hop up on ladders and it gives me a couple of inches in height.
It just really tickled me seeing that. Oh, one of those. Right, round number 6 coming up, and for G2, it's looking to be that 5-1 half. The last round, you might look at and say, realistically, with an extra 10 seconds, VP win that round. The plant comes off the defuse, they turn around and get the kill between them, either playing for a trade or whatever it may be. But because of the clock, it was another G2 round, and a couple of changes coming in as well, mind you. We spoke about the electrification coming in on the top floor. It is the same once again. It's Kayak finding WTG, and now's gone back and forth between the two teams. That's 3 opening kills apiece now, for either team.
VIRTUS.PRO moving in relatively quickly. They've got a man established inside a piano already, but Kayak was the one to find the opener, and G2 still haven't been moved from any of their positions on the top floor, really. Rask is going to hold a nice long angle with the F2 there, quite capable of challenging over that distance, but he's now going to just dip away, looking to try and clear off some of this utility to allow a bit of access into barback storage, bathroom. They're just looking to try and get anything going that they can. Hungry is on a little bit of a sort of semi-roam there, heading down White Stairs with the shotgun in hand, just looking to prevent any unexpected entrances coming in. And VIRTUS.PRO, they've got the hole open through to the trash bag area, just at the side of barback storage, looking to move in and pressure these G2 players, but they just entrenched us, and that's something G2 have done very, very well today, is get in these power positions and just refuse to move.
It's one of the ones that I look at, and you know, many people would gauge a team's strength by their attacking capability. And
Diffuser.
Well, that's not really the capability you were looking for, to be honest. Having no idea the man's in storage and finding a freebie. Pasha's now pushing his way in, as Yonka somehow swings by and gets himself another kill in the round. And Pasha and Karjeka, they've got to be lamenting how this round's playing out. They know that likelihood his Kayak is down, but can't do anything about it. Yonka, same place on the diffuser with a shotgun blast to the head. That's definitely going to net yourself a kill. And now Karjeka, this looks to be another flawless round coming through. We did see one earlier on, I believe. In fact, I'm a total liar. No, we didn't. That was the last game. As it stands, though, this might be the first one. Kayak is down and injured. I think you might even see this one time out here. It's another bad round coming up for VIRTUS.PRO. They're taking a couple of gunfights. They haven't done their homework / drone work and have found themselves caught out, pincered, and shut down. A 5-1 to G2 in the first half.
I can't honestly blame them for taking the sort of unofficial timeout, we'll call it. They're just using up the Ryan burn in that one to have an opportunity to discuss within the team exactly what's going on and maybe what needs to be changed. But hopefully the change of the half, Des, will be what VIRTUS.PRO need. It'll just catapult them, it'll change the momentum, it'll give them a different focus. I don't know what it'll be, but I mean, Pasha moving into barback storage there didn't have much of a choice because they had to dislodge Jonka, but you're just not going to win that fight going in against the shotgun at that range, especially not the SAS shotgun.
This is it, right? And then they decide to hold the door and he just swings another one and gets a second. The next one he holds with the shotgun. And I was thinking the whole time, you have Karjeka on the Flores. Why not chuck like a Rotero in there? Make the guy move, make him run into an angle of some kind. But they struggled at even the most basic level of getting things like the electrified wall opener, of removing mute jammers. Just all these things that are, you know, natural puzzles that you'll come up against in this game. VIRTUS.PRO just looked basically ill-equipped to deal with. It was very weird.
Now then, big questions for G2. G2, we've seen them struggle more on attack than defence. You know, if I've had any questions over this G2 lineup over the back end of Stage 2 and the beginning of Stage 3, it has more so been on their attacks, and that's something that we need to see improve from them as well. That needs to start now. They need to come in and they just need to keep this dominant. The last thing they want, and this is where I say about convincing me, they need to come in And I don't want to see this finish 7-5 days with G2 limping over the line. They've been absolutely dominant in the first half. There's no other way of putting it. They need to continue that now. They need this to be 7-1, 7-2. You know, really put VIRTUS.PRO to the sword now.
No one wants to be that team that's, oh, well, they were great on attack, but really good on defense, but couldn't really attack, right? Because that always carries the idea of, okay, they're not quite a complete team, whereas if they can put on a good attacking show here, I agree with you. It sends a message that they can play it really well. Again, I'll lean back on what I said earlier on, is that for VIRTUS.PRO, they never really look sharp enough to unsettle G2 or make them nervous the way that other teams have. Here on the attacking side, it's going to be about the composure for G2. One, showing they've got the pace and the teamwork to make this work out for them, and also to deal with the kind of craziness that you see coming out of players like Rask. I'm not saying it just because he's on your screen, but he's the guy who I think back to over the many stages we've had. He's the guy who would lie down in front of a window and wait for you to rappel or vault in. He's the one who'll go running around on Oregon, for example, down through the basement to keep you guessing as to where he's gone on the defensive side. He is the wild card for VIRTUS.PRO, and that is what G2 need to be looking out for.
Hungary just looking to get the drone into red stairs there, feed any information. G2 aware that they're going to need to clear things out here. It is a kitchen defence this time around, so they seem pretty confident at this point as Citizen moves in that top floor is clear and they will be able to do so unimpeded to try and get themselves into train and mining and start opening up those vertical angles. It's been a much quicker process of doing that as Kayak, you hear 1 minute 40 days ahead of time, starting to open up that floor with the sledgehammer.
That's basically 40 seconds they've gained on what VIRTUS.PRO did, and mainly coming down to G2 on the defense being willing to roam on the third and second floors. It's definitely not the most common thing on this map. A lot of teams very fearful of losing players on the top floor and leaving themselves a bit scarce on the defensive side of things on site itself. And here VIRTUS.PRO have backed away entirely and just said, look, you want to get it, then go for it. C4 comes ripping out, but catches no one, as I'm sure you were just about to say, Ace.
Certainly was about to just say that the Nitro had failed. In goes the Rotero drone, looking to clear out some utility. Will be used to jump through the Aruni gate on the window there, so could be a potential freezer drop here. We had laser gates stationed both on the window and on the door, so G2 not wanting to go down and find themselves in any sort of coffin down there that they can't get themselves out of if the freezer drop does come in. Now Jonka just looking to open up the wall from Small Bakery there. That's going to make it more difficult for the man to stay in behind that bakery counter. It just gives a little peek hole in, so the Maestro are going to have to be more careful now, and I think they're just looking to get him moving really, to give Citizen the opportunity to find the shots onto him.
Questions to someone swing here as he pulls the nade out. It's going to try and bounce it around the back, but there are ADSs there, so they can't easily get through those. You see the frag go off. It may have been zapped out by something else. They're chucking the flashes now through that hole towards the north, and Virtue finds one onto WTG. Not quite the man they were after. I think it's the Maestro they're trying to break open here. Citizen, he's got to be so careful. There's a man to the right as well as one behind the bar here. 2 kills coming, 3 kills for VIRTUS.PRO. A 2K on the shotgun for Pasha. Welcome to the scoreboard this game, my friend. But 2 more come swinging back. Hungry almost with a TK. That could have ruined the round for them, but it's Pasha with a 3K to close things out, and VIRTUS.PRO finally get themselves another round on the board.
Hungry. I mean, we've all been there. You get that flash of movement in front of you, and you're that on the edge in these games that it's just a flick and a click, and all of a sudden it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a headshot, but it certainly took Kayak's attention. I think it was still a difficult situation, 2 versus 2. Unlikely to win from there, I would have said, given the amount of time on the clock as well. The diffuser needed to go down, but I think it was certainly a distraction that probably ended the round as well, because it just turns your heads and it gives VIRTUS.PRO the opportunity to move in and get those kills. Very well defended from VIRTUS.PRO. G2 were unable to break down what they were doing. We've been critical of VIRTUS.PRO for time on the attack. I'm going to say a little bit the same of G2 there. We were complimentary initially to begin with, very quick at recognising the top 2 floors were theirs. Kayak gets in there, 1 minute 40, starts opening up that floor. Nothing really comes from it, and then 30 seconds left to go. They're trying to clear out behind bakery counter.
That was what kind of baffled me, is it's like you've done all this work on the second floor and, you've
there are... not been doing bakery.
Yeah, exactly. There's 2 ADSs set down in bakery. You've got 1 player in prep, 1 actually inside a bakery. You could just have someone hold that angle while the rest of you do try and play this freezer drop or a push with the Hibana, for example, through white. There were other options, but I think they acknowledged it a bit too lately and realised, well, we're committing to a bakery take now. We're just going to have to commit and go all the way through. And sadly for them, it didn't quite work out. But up to the top floor we go. Interesting little, not so much statistic, but thing I've noticed here is both teams did start downstairs in the basement. That's a throwaway from what you're used to seeing, which is the bar cocktail start. And Ace looks like a drunk middle-aged man dancing in a club right now with his hand above his head.
I just want to see Bar drop away in EUL as the first choice site because it's not.
You're not a very. In fact, you're not a hateful person at all, and you're very rarely ever angry. You're always super positive, but I feel like if there's one thing you could drop a nuke on, it would be Bar Cocktail.
It's like I said, it's just, you know what, I'm passionate about stats, Des, and when the stats are telling me that there's not many defenders winning that site in this region, I just want teams to stop picking it first, and that is what is happening now. Then this is the opportunity, though, Des. It leads me in nicely to that point. G2 have got the attack onto Bar and Stock. It is a site that we've seen teams in EU struggle to defend. This is the one where G2 need to go forward aggressively and put themselves on match point.
This is the one difference that I'm liking seeing between the two teams. I mean, you just ran that straight into a jammer, so unlucky, I guess. But like for VIRTUS.PRO, they would get map control, then they would start using the Flores drones. Whereas here, straight away, whilst the rest of the team works on red, you've got something else going on. It's those being used down through the skylight to help them get things set up. Now, Pasha finds one, instantly traded out by Yonker a couple of seconds later as he goes for the 2K on the swing. It's a better half so far for Pasha, given he's now set up 4 kills, a 3K in the last and the 1 in this round. But that's going to give a bit of peace of mind to G2, knowing that one of the roamers has been dealt with. And that was good attention coming out of the Evil Eye there as well. We knew another one would come down at some point through the skylight, instantly there to zap it out.
It was. Rask traded out after he gets... It's a trade directly. Rask manages to find the kill onto Kayak, not before the nade leaves his hand, and is going to be deadly from beyond the grave. So that leaves us now 3 versus 3. G2, 1 minute 20 left on the clock, so plenty of time to go here, but they've still got VIRTUS.PRO left in a few of those power positions here on the top floor hold, and Jonker just looking at distance there to try and clear a couple out. One in the bathroom particularly. He's looking to open that wall up, and it's just going to make it a little bit less comfortable for the man inside of there.
Timing aspect again, mind you. We are down to that last 60 seconds or so, and they're still worrying about red and how they can get control. They haven't dealt with that Evil Eye that's currently sat inside of, or on the pillar, facing into Bar itself, I don't believe. So a bit of a nervy moment. There we go. Sees it. Knows it's still there. Guys, this needs to be dealt with very, very soon. There's another Rotera potentially coming out here for Virtu. No, he's got none left. So there's nothing really they can do. And they're low on drones themselves. I believe only 2 on side at this point to help them with trying to find out where these last couple of members are. In fact, they've got 3. 2 of them on the support player, because like a good support player / player in general, has kept those drones alive.
Citizen manages to find Milon with a nade, and there's been a lot of explosive kills so far in this round for G2. 3 versus 2, 20 seconds left to go though. That is going to be the problem here for G2. They've got to get moving, got to think about getting that diffuser down now then. We've got the movement coming in. One man is inside of the default plant spot there, but it is not Jonker, I don't think. Out comes the Nitro, and that is big from WTG. Kajeka managing to find the kill onto Jonker as well. It's all up to Citizen with kills to find and only seconds to do it. Shut down by Kajeka, and VP take themselves a second round on the defense. What was 5-1 becomes 5-3, and the Russian side are on the fight back.
We had this chat 2 rounds ago about for G2 to make this a dominating performance to show and give hope to the G2 faithful that you are back and you're on course to do great things here. All we're seeing so far is almost a repetition of what we saw back in the first half. And I'll give it to G2. They've looked better in the rounds they've lost. They've found those earlier kills. They had 2 trades coming through in that round, which was fantastic. The same can be said for VIRTUS.PRO, that they did find 2 kills themselves at the same time. And as that clock has ran down, VIRTUS.PRO have just showed, smoke grenades, wonderful. C4s, wonderful. They haven't had to burn any of that utility any earlier because G2, like VIRTUS.PRO did, have stalled out throughout. And that's the big frustration, I think, is like I said earlier on, a lot of people will judge a team based on how they attack rather than how they defend, unless it's some really intricate defense like an SSG roam or a roam heavy strat that gets them a couple of kills in the early round. All attention falls on the attacking side of a team, and gauging how a team is playing normally comes from the drone work they're doing, the timing they've got, the team play. That is all most evident when you look at how a team is attacking. And sure enough, this time out here should be a great chance for a chat to come through. I've said before about G2, I like seeing who's doing the talking as well, because the last couple of times it has been Shaz in the back room doing the work, doing the talking for them. But thinking back to seeing them on stage, watching them at SI, it was Citizen doing all of the talking for them, which was interesting because he's not really the IGL for that team. That falls instead onto Kayak.
It does, and it just... Again, maybe suggest Des, you wonder is there a bit of desperation? Not desperation creeping in, but maybe a little bit of concern here about how this is going and whether there's going to be attacks to get over the line.
We'll see how it goes. Then now we move down onto Reading and Fireplace. This one, as we've already seen a couple of times on this map, has been won both times by the defensive side. And it's going to be much like before. How much time can be wasted up on that top floor?
That's exactly what this site generally boils down to. We saw G2 do it very well a couple of times, and I'm sure VIRTUS.PRO will have recognised where the difficulties came from and will be aiming to do exactly the same in reverse this time around. Now, we've got a lot of utility going onto the upstairs. Interestingly, an ADS on Lumber there, Des, so we could see a little bit of a hold, a fallback position to those white stairs. Normally what we see happen with defenders up on this top floor is they'll start out kind of aggressive. You might have one in Cigar, you might have one on Pixel Spot in Piano, but they'll very quickly fall back. They don't want to lose lives up there. All they want to do is put a token resistance to stop the attackers basically dropping straight in and taking immediate control of Piano. Sometimes they won't even bother with that, but if they do, they're then going to drop back past this halfway line towards the right hand side. They want to play the majority in barback storage, thank you very much, barback storage and cocktail over on the right hand side. It's a big east side hold because they've got the option to drop over the balcony back into reading site pretty quickly. They've got the option to drop the hatch, and it's all about wasting time whilst keeping that top floor control as much as possible.
Being treated to a light show in the studio. That was pretty. Had a lot of flashing going on. But of course the focus is entirely on what's on the screens in front of us. I need to see, by the way, I know I keep on saying it, if Virtue's got the skin on as well. He's an Aussie. If he hasn't got the wildcard skin on, there is a massive problem. Show me.
We'll keep you up.
He hasn't. I'm so disappointed. My night is ruined.
It doesn't take much, does it, Des?
No. I'm a simple man. Just got to wield a skin. That's all I want to see. But he's trying to do this work around the sites. You saw him zapping out a couple of things I mentioned earlier on already about the changes coming in for Virtue with the laser beams. Shooting out the front of it, a couple of gadgets being removed. There's the mute jammer gone as well. There is still one more on this wall to deal with, mind you. That's a default can going out as well. Highly valuable. What can I say?
It certainly is, just burning that utility as it goes. Virtue still scanning around and just trying to recognise a few locations now, be able to feed some information back in. Just looking for that electrical that he's going to clear off there. So you see one of the big differences with this Twitch drone, Des, is not just in the jumping, it's the range difference. Because you used to have to get in quite close, whereas now you can look for those really long angles to get a peek onto something and just take your little sniper shots onto them, and it's proving really valuable. Rask, he's going to dip away as the smoke grenade just comes in to try and obscure his line of sight there, so just tries to avoid himself getting taken down. Pressure coming from G2, but 2 minutes wasted and still no top floor control.
No, still in that spot, like you say, where they've got to get a bit of a press on now. That's 60 seconds to go, and you're still wondering, when does this top floor clear come through? You've got Milan holding the space that I believe it was Quiet played on the smoke back on their defensive side for G2, was wasting time up here and daring them to come challenging in. It looks to be much the same story, but here comes the pushing from one on towards Bar. There's a shield waiting, comes out for the spray. Kayak has got the nade in hand, and there's a couple more now starting to step their way up, but you've got a couple of ADSs. I believe there's a magnet above the door as well. In fact, that's a lie, as it does come singing through, but doesn't kill the man, managing to drop away just in time.
Milan taking a little bit of damage and dropping himself back, but 26 seconds is all that remains for G2, Des. They've got that top floor control now, but they're going to have to move quickly if they want to get this job done. Jonka has the diffuser in hand. He's going to need to try and find himself inside a reading room, which he is able to do, but they don't know about Pasha. They managed to shut him down on a trade, but there's a team kill comes in the midst. Milan, WTG, they just pile on the pressure as they find one each, and that's going to be the round for VIRTUS.PRO, and all of a sudden they are back in touch, and we've got a game on, Cafe.
Oh dear for G2. It's all falling apart in this second half. I mean, for VIRTUS.PRO, they at least found a round in the second. So far, it has been 3 straight rounds on the defense coming in for VIRTUS.PRO. And I'm starting to get a bit nervous here for G2. Do their woes continue?
It's certainly looking like it does, because they look like a different side, and this was what I said coming into the second half. Need to see G2 be convincing on both sides of the table, and they sat there and absolutely dominated the first half of this, and then coming into the second, they just haven't been able to get going in the same way. They're not winning the gunfights the same as they were. They're just not taking the same initiative as they were on defence, and right now, you feel like one round is still all they need. I know technically they need 2, but you just feel like it'll break the seal and they'll go and be able to push forward and get this one done. But VIRTUS.PRO are having absolutely none of it, Des, and they've gone back down to kitchen now. They're able to rotate back down to their primary site, one that G2 did not really get anywhere near.
They're doing exactly the same setup again as well. ADS placements, exact same lineup coming out of the team, same gadgets, nothing looks different for VIRTUS.PRO. So this, I think, is going to be the most telling for G2 of all, is that they now get a chance to repeat the same attack but they get to change and fix the things that they identified as being wrong back in that first round. I don't think you'll see any Romans coming out of VIRTUS.PRO, as they didn't do it last time around. So for G2, like, you know what the setup is going to be. You know how this gets played out. Let's see a really solid attack here.
That's exactly what the G2 fans need to see and will be itching to see. But VIRTUS.PRO, they are certainly here to spoil the party if given any opportunity, as Milan steps out with a spawn peek, finding Hungry with a headshot. Coming in from the white door, I believe, somewhere. We can't quite see the body. I'm sure it'll appear at some stage, but not a good start for G2.
Well, the body does disappear quite fast these days. You're more looking for the icon, but in this case, not spotted. It does remove the Lion, who you would have been relying on too, because, of course, alongside the Gon 6, those EE1D scans, incredibly useful when you've got those players on VIRTUS.PRO looking to be a little bit problematic. Virtue's pushing his way down white, expecting the man to still be there. However, I believe he's pulled back into VIP, so much the same hold as what we've already seen coming out of VIRTUS.PRO before.
It is, and hopefully, you know, for G2's sake, they are able to learn from what went wrong last time. Virtue just looking to peek around there. Don't get overexcited. The man is not on white stairs. He's just on the other side of the wall, inside of VIP, just trying to prevent this freezer-sided push, and it was something that we saw VIRTUS.PRO do for a little while at least last time, but they had a lot of presence inside of Bakery as well, which still appears to be the case. Kayak getting in there quickly again, Des. We saw this last time out, able to get in there with plenty of time left on the clock and to start opening things up. But what we need is, we don't need 3 or 4 G2 players on the mid floor right now. We need Kayak and one other to watch his back, and then we need the other 3 working another angle.
They took that flank cam on the white stairs as well for that exact purpose. I think is they don't really want anyone to go attacking it. I think it's Yonka still holding out there down by Garage, looking to push his way in through white, knows that the man's still inside VIP. If nothing else, just trying to hold him in place so they can make this work. And look at the difference already. Forget about Bakery. We've got the vertical control. Now let's try and force East. But the problem is VIRTUS.PRO have adapted to match. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4 outlines you can see all out towards this East side. The first one already removed as Ras taken down by a nade coming out of Virtue.
4v4 now as G2, they start to try and turn up the temperature on the attack into Kitchen here. Citizen finding WTG with a headshot on Brown Stairs and starts to push down. But Milon once again there when VIRTUS.PRO need him most. Managing to level things up, 3 versus 3. 42 seconds left to go. Citizen on low health. G2 pushing from the angle into bar, but it appears that Pasha is fully aware that this is where the pressure is going to mount from. Now, we have Kayak losing out in a fight to Milon once again. How many times are we going to say that man's name in this round? 3 versus 2 now to VIRTUS.PRO, and you just feel like this one is starting to slip away from G2, and that's exactly what it does as Pasha manages to find the final man. He spots him out just before the smoke pops and is able to find that shot even without his line of sight, and that's going to be VIRTUS.PRO leveling things up.
Both teams doing these aggressive defenses in very different ways. Look back to G2 and they're roaming up on the 3rd floor. Here you're seeing a more lateral one, so it's horizontal rather than playing vertically, where you've got the one playing inside of VIP and you think, look, no problem. We've seen teams clear this a million times. The difficulty being you've got Pasha playing behind the bar, who's then looking to swing and project into white corridor if he wants to. So understandably, G2 then want to try and push down Brown Stairs, push into the double window into Restaurant, for example, and start contesting onto these players. But again, it just lacks the bite. It looks a little bit too comfortable, and for VIRTUS.PRO to now have 4 rounds on the bounce, I'm thinking either we find ourselves overtime or an upset here, Ace.
I mean, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility for us, would it, Des? You know, it wouldn't, we joked about this over the last couple of Playdays, it almost wouldn't be a Playday if you didn't have one of our games going into overtime, and it's certainly looking like a possibility here, but to be honest, I wouldn't put it past VIRTUS.PRO at the minute, Des, to go 6-0 on their defensive half. I just don't feel that G2 have been significantly close to getting an attacking round on the board yet.
It doesn't. That's the problem. I mean, for both teams, it's been a war when you look back at how it's gone. Like, sure, round 2 went the way for VIRTUS.PRO, but it was a little bit of a mad flurry. WTG being the one to do, the risky / unexpected thing in this game. Otherwise, it's been pretty clear cut, to be honest with you. And that one round could be the difference maker. As you can see, there is a pause ongoing. Hungry said he had a bit of a problem that he needed to reboot the game for. So once we're back in, we'll get to see how this game steps forward. Will it be VP moving up in towards overtime, or will G2 take that step themselves with a first attacking win? This might have just come at the perfect time.
It might have done. It might be just what G2 needs, but, equally it works both ways, as we've said. You've got a VIRTUS.PRO side at the minute that are going very well, and this is going to allow them to cement exactly what is working for them, how they're managing to frustrate G2, and any tweaks that they may need to make. This gives them the opportunity to speak about that. Where have the concerns been? Where have G2 really stretched them? Where has the potential problems come from? And they can find the fixes to those answers. We've managed to fix the issue that Hungary was having, so we're going to get ourselves back into game. We're going to load into round 11. We're guaranteed of seeing all 12 days as an absolute minimum here, because it is 5 versus 5. Only one of these teams is going to get an opportunity to have a match point in regulation time, and this round is going to determine exactly which one it is.
That's exactly it. Okay. As I said earlier on, though, we've already seen this site attack once. We saw it for back in round 7, Kitchen and Service defended, and then the same in round 10. VP won both, despite G2 moving their attack from the west across to the east. Now we get to see what variants we're going to see coming out of G2 compared to what we saw back in round 8. This one came down to the kills, but if you remember, it all came down to the clock, and we praised G2 that they were on the Flores pretty early in the round and destroying gadgets throughout the top floor, and couldn't really deal with the Evil Eye, mind you, that you're currently seeing sat on the left side of the bomb right here. So it was a job half done, and then came down to a Hail Mary push in the last 10 seconds that led to a C4 coming out of, I believe it was a player inside of Piano. You had Karjeka across inside of Cocktail. It just wasn't really any great threat, is the best way to describe it, to VIRTUS.PRO. To still have smokes on side and C4s in the dying seconds really shows how non-pressured you've been up to that point.
Exactly that, not having to use every last drop of that defensive utility is telling, really, as to how VIRTUS.PRO were able to play that one out reasonably comfortably. So back up to the top floor we go here in round 11. We're going to have G2 making quick progress. Once again, it's something that I can't criticise is the early round for them. They get in there, they open hatches, they drone out, they clear out utility as quickly as they can, they get themselves established, but then in the mid to late round, it just seems to be that there's more and more time getting burnt and leaving less and less time for those final executes. Now, Kayak, he's going to spot out the man in behind that deployable shield. The drone will be taken down, but they'll be aware that there is a presence on Pixel. Rask just continuing to play in that area. You can see with the amount of utility there, the deployable shield, the ADSs, he's going to be there for the long haul. In come the flashes to burn the ADSs. You'd expect the nade to follow and clear the shield, and that's exactly what happens. The E1D scanner trying to prevent the Jaeger just moving back away from that shield, I think, but Rask's fleet footwork had already got him out of the danger zone.
Straight back in, yeah. Again, I'm focusing entirely on how long it takes them to get control of this west side. Piano specifically, as we know, a massive staging point for your attack onto the top floor. But both teams so far today almost scared to step inside, like there might be C4'd at any moment or swung and headshot. They're just a little bit afraid. I do like this adaptation, though. Coming in on the white window, looking to get a nade here inside of the man. Playing in bathroom, that should come swinging in any second now. Should remove away the mute jammer that's set inside there. Yes, it will, and also moves the man back inside of Deep Freezer. So a better start coming out of G2, moving the man away, letting them take more control, enough that it forces Pasha to drop all the way down into the basement to start working his way back up.
Citizen just trying to find any angle that he can for the time being to look for that kill. Pasha on a massive run out and absolutely gets away with it, Des. Manages to rip Hungry off the rappel. Milan is going to be shut down though. Citizen manages to find Pasha as he tries to move back through Bakery. So really the net gain comes out for G2, but the loss of the Lion, we will see how that goes as the round continues. Out comes the Nitro, and that's an absolute beauty from WTG. We've said that a few times tonight. He's having a big game for VIRTUS.PRO here. Going to hold himself inside of the freezer for the time being, just making it difficult for them to move in.
Oh, the
kill.
swing.
What a timing on the swing. Manages to get the headshot onto Jonka. 20 seconds left to go. Kayak finding the long angle. Shut down though again by WTG from the freezer. They just can't move this man. He's flipped to the shotgun and he's looking for the challenge on the short angle as Citizen looks to push him with the F2, and it will inevitably be WTG without moving his feet hardly. Gets a huge round in the books for VIRTUS.PRO, who are for the first time tonight ahead.
It's exactly the same as what I said earlier on about VIRTUS.PRO in round 2, and yes, they won that round, but if you remember me saying, I said, great, we got a kill. Now what? There was just no follow-up, no next steps planned for VIRTUS.PRO, and for G2, that round was exactly the same. They had a couple of players move down to white. They cleared the player out of bathroom. Awesome. Now we can get these walls opened up and start working our way forwards. But how do we move forwards? They stalled out once again. WTG plants his feet, like you say. Beautiful read on his side as well for that flash coming through. Took the swing, got himself a 4K. I will probably already say it to me, although the numbers don't strictly reflect it because all of VP are up there on the kill feed right now, the kill leaderboard. It's still in a spot where I think he has been the single most impactful player in a number of rounds. Just for the onus to charge forward and make something happen, a big 4K in that round, for example, it's just looked very, very good for WTG. And you can kind of see now why it was justified bringing him back in over Andreezy.
Certainly is. He just had, well, such a big round, such a big pivotal moment. The thing is, Des, that round, in a way, isn't finished yet. WTG's contribution from that round isn't quite finished yet, because if VIRTUS.PRO go on and take this final round and win in regulation, going 6-0, we're going to look back at that round 11, we're going to look back at that massive performance from WTG, and we're going to say that it catapulted them to that win. It really turned the tide for them. They've already had the momentum, but it just feels like it could be the final moment for them to be able to come through and really get this one done. You're starting to believe now, if you're a VIRTUS.PRO fan, you're starting to look at this and think this could actually happen. You know, we could come back from a 5-1 down to go 6-0 in the second half and take it without even needing overtime.
You feel like it needs overtime. Both teams need a chance to show them what they can do on the attack, I think, because it has been a war so far. But let's see if G2 can really get the pace up in this round. This is the big one that they need to make work right here and right now. That Mutant Mozzie definitely going to slow things down for the side of G2 when it comes around to the drone work. We've seen a number of times there's been a lot of reliance on the Flores drones come ticking through. That is back on side once again for Virtue here, to hopefully remove some of those things that have been troubling them. The interesting one for me, at the very least, though, is Karjeka stepping away from the Maestro and going instead to playing on the Alibi. Not something we've seen in play. He's preferred these more kind of tank-down, utility-based operators so far. So it is a bit of a play-style shift here for this site.
Pasha just feeding that information back in. Rotero Tron just manages to anchor in front of Pasha before he's able to shoot it out, and that's just going to force him back slightly deeper. But VIRTUS.PRO for the time being just holding on to the east side of the top floor. Let's remember that they are defending the reading room, and we've seen today just how important this top floor hold is to that site. G2 still pushing 1 minute 24. They're not doing badly on time. They've still got enough to work with here, but they have to start getting some kills on the top floor. Milon is entrenched inside of the washroom. There's only one way out for him as well. There's two ways really. He either dies or he fights his way out. There's no rotation available for him. He's going to have to win his fight. But it's Rask who wins his. 2 huge kills there inside a cocktail, and he's going to be having a drink to celebrate real soon, because it looks like VIRTUS.PRO might just lock this one down. Virtue, he's able to get a late trade there, but there's still Milon, Des. They're aware of his presence. Hungry's just holding him on the angle with the Lion, but he hasn't pushed him yet, and that's what needs to happen, because Milon, he could still spoil this party. G2, 42 seconds left to go and work to be done.
He's so scared of the swing because he's already done it once as well, so understandably so, swings out and goes for the shots. Now they know where he is. They know that he's lurking inside of White until he steps back inside a bathroom. This guy's keeping them guessing like anything. Citizen finding one. The 3 versus 3 and 20 seconds to play. G2, you've got to do it now, because it is now or never. In comes the swing. Hungry with a slither of HP. Still finds the headshot onto Milan. Knows there's more above. Will they try and go for the drops here as well? Because again, Ace, it's all about the downstairs. Forget the upstairs. The diffuser's down there. They get the 2 kills. VIRTUS.PRO, Hungry with 1 HP and 2 kills to find. Should not be able to make this one happen. VIRTUS.PRO will upset the world here, bringing down G2 and winning it 7-5.
Well, I don't think anybody expected to see that after the 5-1 half, and look at the celebration going on for VIRTUS.PRO right now. You can see just how much it means to those guys to turn it around, go 6-0 on the half, and that's the performance that we've been waiting for out of VIRTUS.PRO. WTG again deserves a huge shout. He had a kill there at the end of that Des, where he looked up onto that balcony. He knew that's where the threat was coming from. He had to hit his shots, and he hit every single one of them. Wonderful from WTG tonight.
Got to give it to all of VP as well. The range of kills from 8 to 11. everyone getting their hands dirty. It was definitely not a one-man effort, and that was our concerns coming into the game. Who's going to help Milan? Apparently, the answer is the whole team. A huge 3 points, and with that, VIRTUS.PRO will lift themselves off the bottom of the rankings, where they only had one leading into today. Let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, the guys on the desk will break this one down for you a little bit more.